How's it going, everybody? Nerds Rising here, and welcome back to the Nerd Cave. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a very strong Ultra League team sent into the channel by DrLuv. Now, if you're not familiar with DrLuv, he is a multi-time legend, multi-time leaderboard player who regularly sends me in some very cool battle submissions, usually in the Ultra League, and he is telling me that this team right here is his new signature team, and when he says something like that, you know I absolutely have to shoutcast it because he always puts together very strong Ultra League teams. So we're going to be taking a look at this team in action today, featuring the Shadow Lil and Ninetales on the lead, and the Ampharos, as well as the newly buffed Heliolisk. Now, I actually haven't watched any of this footage, so I'm not 100% sure how it functions, but I'm imagining we're probably going to be seeing the Ampharos on the safe switch, but we will have to see how DrLuv plays it. I am definitely looking forward to these. And I believe he also let me know that he climbed just under 2,700 elo with the team, which I don't even think, I think the leaderboards at the time of his recording this was like right around that area. So he's just below leaderboards right now. So let's get into the battles here and let's take a look at this team in action and see what DrLuv has in store for us today. So picking up the first lead here, we've got the absolute dream, honestly, Shadow Gliscor into the Shadow Lil and Ninetales. The opponent brings in a Registeel, and unfortunately, he doesn't really have the best answer for the Registeel. Now, if you're noticing, he is actually running the Bulldoze on the Heliolisk, probably just for some coverage against the Steelix, I'm imagining, but unfortunately, that is part normal type, so wouldn't really be a very good idea to bring that in. Looks like he actually is going to go for the Trailblaze first here, and then probably going to just spam off the Brutal Swings. And no, actually going to go for another Trailblaze here. Very interesting play. I'm thinking probably it would have been better if he would actually have built up to the Focus Blast, because Focus Blast would be 5 Volt Switches. Maybe he did 5. I think he only did 4, though. I'm not 100% sure. But either way, does manage to shield once, take out the Registeel, and has a lot of energy still to throw at this Gliscor. So at the very least, does have energy, and that boosted, the double boosted actually Brutal Swing does a lot of damage to the Gliscor, forces it to throw, and now still has the alignment he wants, and there is a Tapu Fini in the back. And honestly, I'm thinking maybe just based on the way that DrLuv plays normally, he does play a little bit differently than I do. He oftentimes will fight for switch more so than I would, and is less likely to just take a shield advantage and give up alignment. And my guess is he didn't purposely build up to the Focus Blast against the Reggie because he wanted to guarantee that the opponent would no-shield that and then make it a lot more comfortable for him to take back switch. Because I'm guessing maybe if he would have built up to the Focus Blast, then the opponent possibly could have double shielded and then potentially could have gotten a little bit tricky for switch advantage there. But as you see, he keeps alignment there. There's a Tapu Fini in the back, and he just straight up takes the game there pretty comfortably, honestly. And very nicely played. So next battle picks up another very nice lead. The Lil and Ninetales into the Galarian Zapdos, and the opponent brings in a Tapu Fini, and he's going to answer the Tapu Fini with the Ampharos. And with Trailblaze, this is a very dominant matchup. Does actually give up a shield again to maintain alignment, but it looked like the opponent there was just happy to take their shield advantage. But unfortunately for the opponent, they don't have switch advantage, and that means this Zapdos is going to be aligned to the Charm Shadow Lil and Ninetales, and actually gets a shield back as well from the Zapdos there with the energy from the Ampharos. And there is a Shadow Charizard in the back. Gonna chip with the Weather Ball here, probably guarantee the shield, and now Heliolisk is gonna easily just close out this game. Could even shield and maybe farm all the way down, depending on if he gets baited or not. He does not get baited, and no, just gonna play it safe. Gonna basically no-bubble this just to a nice, gets an extra Volt Switch, and no, is this actually gonna be a Shadow Blast Burn? Does the opponent already have enough energy? No, they do not. Just the Claw, and yeah, this game is over. I don't even think that if the Zapdos wasn't Breaking Swipe debuffed there and was somehow able to farm down, I don't even think a close combat would have quite KO'd the Ninetales. But either way, very nicely played by DrLuv. 2 wins now, and as you're seeing, again, like I mentioned, he just likes to play these a little bit differently than maybe I would. This is an ABB style team, but he's very much inclined to try to maintain alignment at all times, whereas sometimes people like myself are more inclined to, for example, like take a shield advantage early on and not fight for switch. You'll oftentimes see him pretty drastically try to fight for switch at all costs. So anyway, this is pretty much the nightmare situation here. The Ampharos into the Steelix, and he's just going straight Brutal Swing and actually stalls out the switch clock long enough to where he can actually get out of that matchup, save some energy on the Ampharos, brings in the Ninetales, and honestly, Ninetales doesn't have a terrible matchup here because the Ninetales is going to be double resisting the Dragon Claws, or the Dragon Tails, excuse me, and the Breaking Swipes. And unfortunately here, this is one where he just doesn't have the alignment that he wants, and his A9 is just locked into this Registeel. This is looking extremely rough. I'm just not seeing a good way that he's going to be able to take out the Steelix. I guess he does still have the Ampharos, but yeah, Ampharos is going to get taken out here, and then Heliolisk does have the Bulldoze, but it's going to be a very tall ask for the Heliolisk down a shield to take out 2 steel types. But we'll have to see. The game is definitely not over yet. He's playing it out. He's pivoting in and out of these matchups, and the Registeel hopefully doesn't commit to a farm down here, and they do throw some energy. That would have been very rough if they could have farmed down. And now, unfortunately, the Ninetales is going to go down here, and now the Steelix can probably just come in and just Breaking Swipe, debuff him to smithereens. They do bring in the Araquanid here, or not the Araquanid, the Golisopod here. I like to call this thing a Araquanid for some reason, but they're going to bring in the Golisopod here, probably force the shields, and then just save both of their shields for the Steelix in the back. And I'm thinking that the Heliolisk is probably just going to get fully Dragon Tailed down here. But yeah, they do throw their move. He has to commit his last shield. And I guess maybe if the opponent shields this, he could potentially make the Bulldoze, but no, they actually called the bait there. And that's absolutely savage, because now he's going to need 2 more Breaking Swipes to KO, and it looks like they're just going to get there before the timer comes up. So this is actually, he actually turned this into a very close matchup. And oh my gosh, does he actually get the KO here? He is debuffed, and it comes down to the timer, who has more HP, and apparently the opponent did. I guess they actually still had the Golisopod alive with like 1 HP in the back, but wow, DrLuv actually turned that into a very, very close matchup. That was looking like a GG to me, which unfortunately it was, but he made that very, very close. So very nicely played. In the next battle here, the opponent safe switches into a Trevenant, and he has the absolute dream lead here. Oh my gosh, or the dream response here. The opponent Shadow Balls a normal type, and I'm thinking the opponent probably didn't realize that Heliolisk was part normal, because they instantly top lefted there after they throw the Shadow Ball into the normal type, but you absolutely love to see it. And in the next battle, we have Ampharos into Jellicent here. The opponent again switched out. The battles are just going by too fast. I'm not keeping up, but this is a very dominant matchup for Ampharos, especially with Trailblaze, because he can just ramp up these Volt Switches continuously with the Trailblazes and match the Jellicent for pace here. And I'm going to go for the Brutal Swing now, just in case they shield it, and they do let it go, and he still does have the alignment that he wants. The opponent's already seen that he's not on Focus Blast, so not going to even bother building up to it. Just go straight for the Trailblaze here, and even if they commit to the full farm down here, which they do, the A9 here just has such a dominant matchup that it really doesn't matter. And yeah, in this game, he pretty much just has the opponent hard countered here. He has the double electric for their double water, and the Alola Ninetales for the Scrafty, and this is a good game. I think you do kind of have to shield this, just because if somehow this Tentacle can take out the Heliolisk, it's going to absolutely destroy the Ninetales. But yeah, plays it safe, shields it up, probably going to farm all the way down now, and we'll actually take a move, and this is probably better, because the Scrafty's not going to get any more farm, really, from this thing. And yeah, it does not even matter that he gets farmed down there, because like 2 or 3 charms is going to easily destroy the Scrafty, and that is going to be a GG. And yeah, for some reason the opponent's throwing energy. They should definitely be reaching for that top left. But either way, very nicely played by DrLuv. Maintains the alignment there and gets the win. Next battle, Tapu Fini on the lead. Does have 2 electric types in the back, so going to be switching into the Heliolisk this time. And the opponent actually answers with a Alolan Sandslash here. This is definitely not an answer to Heliolisk. It's going to respect the Drill Run, but now I think you could pretty easily just probably farm all the way down. It's going to throw the Breaking Swipe here just to get a shield back from the opponent. They do shield it up, but now this is a very easy shield and farm down, and you will have switch advantage now, and that means the Ampharos can be aligned to that Tapu Fini, and they're probably not going to bring it back in. They actually do bring it back in. Wow, very interesting by the opponent here, and they actually do call a move there, so nice play by them, but unfortunately, like I said, Ampharos can now just come in and absolutely crush this thing, and I like this play. Lets himself gets farmed down, doesn't want to switch out of there and then lose alignment, so is going to bring in the Ampharos now, and there's a Charizard in the back. They are double weak to electric, and unfortunately he doesn't have a shield, but I think at this point you could probably just bring in the Ninetales. No, actually going to stay in with the Ampharos here. I was going to say you could just bring in the Ninetales and just sack it here, but maybe recognizing that he can live the Blast Burn since it's a non-shadow, and yet at this point the Charizard is so low, 1 or 2 charms is going to KO it, and then he can just charm down the Tapu Fini as well. So I like that play as well. Just stays in, recognizes his win con, and gets the dub. Very nicely played so far by DrLuv. Excuse me, guys. Sorry, I just kind of coughed right into the mic there. Apologize to all the headphone users out there. But as we're seeing, DrLuv playing these battles very well so far. And I really do like the buffs to the electric types this season, because historically, electric types are kind of second tier in open play just because of all the dragon types and the Giratinas and things like that. But now that both of these mons have buffed moves, the Trailblaze on the Ampharos provides some very nice coverage, and the Breaking Swipe on the Heliolisk, you just absolutely love to see some Ultra League action with electric types. It's just really cool to see. Historically, you really just saw them mainly in like the premier formats, but these things are just absolutely dominant, guys. They're just destroying some of these lines, and a lot of these lines I'm noticing are double and sometimes even triple weak to electric. So you absolutely love to see that, and there is a lot of pivoting in and out of matchups happening here. I believe the opponent kind of delayed, switched into their Scrafty, and then just got fully charmed down by the Ninetales. And now Cresselia is going to have a rough time taking care of this Heliolisk, because the Heliolisk is just going to keep going for Breaking Swipe after Breaking Swipe, and you absolutely love to see it. And again, recognizes his switch timer is up, pivots back into the Ninetales, going to charm all the way down, and that's going to allow him to potentially debuff the Charizard in the back with the Heliolisk. But honestly, the Charizard is so low that you can just, take it out with the Weather Ball. And that's going to be a good game. So nicely played there. Next battle, we have another Tapu Fini in the lead. And I'm imagining we're going to be seeing the Heliolisk come in here. And there's a Gliscor in the back. And honestly, this is not that bad for the Heliolisk. Obviously, the Volt Switches are going to be resisted, but you can just basically Breaking Swipe this thing to absolute smithereens. And based on the way that we like to see DrLuv play, or I should say, based on the way that DrLuv likes to play, he probably will be fighting for Switch here. No, actually maybe called a bait there. I was actually expecting him to potentially even double shield there, but no, calls the bait. Unfortunately, the Earthquake does land and isn't able to take back Switch there, so really unfortunate. I was a little surprised there. Normally, like I said, he likes to fight for Switch, and then he would have been able to put the Ampharos onto the Tapu Fini, but maybe it's going to be a very similar line to the last team that we saw where the opponent was double weak to Electric. I believe we saw a very similar line to this, and there was a Charizard in the back, so maybe he's calling that Ampharos is going to be very, very strong in this endgame. And maybe that's why he just was okay with not fighting for Switch there. And sure enough, there's the Charizard in the back. DrLuv has read the team, and Ampharos is going to go on an absolute tear here. Is boosted as well, and these Volt Switches are just going to completely destroy the opponent, and calls the Dragon Claw bait there, and that should be the game at this point. I think if he would have shielded that bait, the opponent would have made double Blast Burn, one to take out the Ampharos, and the second to take out the Ninetales, but by calling that bait, he secures the win. Very nicely played. And moving into the next battle, we have a Defense Deoxys on the lead. This is a little bit tricky just because Defense Deoxys is so incredibly bulky, but is going to bring in the Ampharos, it looks like, and the opponent is going to Psycho Boost and probably dip out here, and they bring in a double. Now, it'd be really nice if he was running Focus Blast here, but of course the opponent doesn't know that he isn't, and he does grab a shield, and again, I think he probably should have farmed up to the Focus Blast again, but maybe just wants to guarantee the chip damage here, and doesn't want the opponent to double shield. But honestly, it doesn't really matter either way, because he's gotten the double low, he has gotten a shield advantage, and now can bring in the Ninetales and fully farm this thing all the way down, take multiple body slams, and honestly, I really like Double. Double is an absolute beast in both the Ultra League and in the Great League, and the opponent has an Alolan Sandslash in the back. And this is looking a little bit tricky, not going to lie. The opponent still does have that Deoxys as well. They do bring it back in, and this is going to be tricky. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to pull this one off because the Defense Deoxys is just so incredibly bulky. I think the play here is going to be to exit this matchup with a ton of energy and then potentially surprise the Alolan Sandslash in the back with a Bulldoze, because the Alolan Sandslash has no idea that he has Bulldoze on his Heliolisk. I'm just not sure if he has enough health to do it. That's the issue here. Gonna pivot back into the Ninetales, but yeah, this Alolan Sandslash is just too healthy, and I don't think he has enough energy on the Heliolisk to potentially bulldoze this thing, and I think this is just gonna be a good game, unfortunately. Is gonna have to shield this, unless somehow he can farm all the way down, but I think this Sandslash is just too healthy. Maybe, yeah, they don't even shield that. I was gonna say, maybe if they shield this, and then somehow Heliolisk can farm down and leave with a move, but yeah, I think this is just going to be a good game. Makes it very close in the end, and oh my gosh, actually gets the tie out of that. The Deoxys was in 1 Volt Switch range there, and the opponent actually lost that battle with his shield, so the opponent definitely should have shielded that last Weather Ball by the Ninetales, but either way, yeah, that was looking extremely tough. Honestly does very well to pull off a tie out of that matchup, because I think the opponent had that game in the bag if they would have played it a little bit better in the end game. But either way, the opponent has a Trevenant on the lead in the next battle, switches into the Heliolisk, and the opponent answers with an Alolan Sandslash, and this is where Bulldoze is so nice. They absolutely had no idea that he was running Bulldoze here, and now he can get alignment here. Gonna no, just basically, yeah, I guess he goes up to a great there. I was gonna say maybe gonna no bubble it and get one extra Volt Switch, but doesn't take any chances there. Gets the alignment that he wants, and now can put the Ampharos onto the Trevenant. And actually even going to make another breaking swipe before he goes down here. And actually was a CMP tie as well. So apparently Heliolisk wins CMP against Trevenant. I definitely didn't know that. And now just actually brings in the Ninetales here, recognizing that it would be a tough Volt Switch farm down for the Ampharos if he brought the Ampharos in. And there's a Shadow Wall right in the back. And it looks like the opponent here is going to lose this battle with Shield still in play, because now fast move pressure is just going to absolutely crush this opponent. And this is going to be a G to the G. This is only an Icicle Spear. Can let this go if he wants to. Does let it go. And the Trevenant's going to get Volt Switch down. Didn't even need to throw the energy if he didn't want to, but wants to just maybe, yeah, throw it anyway and recognize the opponent's going to let it go. End the game a little bit quicker. And that's going to be a good game. So next battle, we see a Cobalion on the lead here. And this is a pretty neutral matchup, despite the fact that we're a Fairy type into a Fighting type. This thing does have access to Stone Edge, and Stone Edge would probably be one-shotting the Alolan Ninetales. Unfortunately, does get baited here, and I don't know about throwing the Weather Ball here, although does get the shield. I guess he did build up to the Psyshock, so the opponent probably respected the Psyshock, but I don't even think a Psyshock would have KO'd there. But either way, does get the shield, and unfortunately doesn't get the catch there. But the opponent brings in Giratina to the Ampharos here, and with Brutal Swing, this is a very nice matchup for the Ampharos. Now here, I could actually see... Nah, that'd be too complicated. I was going to say I could see the Trailblaze and then the Brutal Swing, but it'd just be too risky because the opponent was very likely to no-shield that move, recognizing that they would live it. And that's exactly what happened. I was going to say he could get fancy, go for the Trailblaze, get the shield, and then the boosted Brutal Swing would actually KO the Giratina there, but the opponent no-shielded the second Brutal Swing, so makes sense why he just went straight Brutal Swing there. And unfortunately doesn't KO the Giratina, but one Charm should be KOing. And I believe that the Cobalion does have a move, so throws right away, just recognizing he probably would win CMP there. And the opponent is going to throw some energy, and this is going to set up the Heliolisk to get a 1 Volt Switch head start. Unfortunately, is going to have to tank a move. I didn't realize the opponent had the back-to-back there, but what's going to be in the back here? And oh my gosh, it's a Gyarados, and this is actually going to be extremely close here because Breaking Swipe's not going to KO, is going to need 1 more Volt Switch, and it's a CMP tie. Absolutely heartbreaking there. And that is a situation where it would have been nice if he had a different move other than Bulldoze as his secondary move. But either way, very close battle, very nicely played. And I believe we are getting into the last third of the video, folks. We've got maybe 3 or 4 battles left, and we pick up another Defense Deoxys on the lead here. And this time he's just going to stay in here, trades shields with the opponents, and now is going to bring in the Ampharos here. And the opponent is actually going to stay in and go for a Rock Slide. I thought maybe they'd be Psycho Boosting and dipping, but if they're not switching out, that tells us they may be very weak to Electric in the back. And if they're weak to Electric in the back, Heliolisk is going to absolutely feast on this backline. And sure enough, they've got a Golisopod in the back. And the Ampharos is going to go straight for the Trailblaze here, ramp up these Volt Switches, and does do some nice chip damage on the Golisopod here, and has an absolutely beautiful answer to this thing with the Heliolisk in the back. Going to be double resisting the Shadow Claws. Unfortunately, they do get the defense drop there, so he is going to have to respect the next one. But I could even see switching back into the Ninetales potentially. But no, going to just play it safe, Breaking Swipe the opponent, take out the Golisopod here. They've got a Tapu Fini in the back. They try to catch. They are unsuccessful, and going to go for the Bulldoze here now. And I think you can just switch into the Ninetales here and Charm all the way down. Excuse me. They're going to be forced to throw, but Surf is not going to be enough to KO, and I think he will make the move here. And probably after 1 more Charm, this will be enough to KO. And actually, no, the Weather Ball just KOs there. So very nicely done. As you guys are seeing, so many teams are just so core broken by Electric here. And again, we see a Greninja on the lead, a Water type, and they bring in a Virizion. And this time we're seeing the Alolan Ninetales here, Core Break a team. They're double weak to it, and I think at this point, after you KO the Virizion, you have to safe switch out of here to preserve that A9 for the Greninja, and that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to switch into the Heliolisk. They have a Golisopod in the back, and yeah, this is just game over. They're double weak to Electric and double weak to Alola Ninetales here, and this is just so game over. Oh my gosh, there's just nothing the opponent can do here, and he's just going to spam off these Breaking Swipes. And yeah, Greninja is not going to be able to KO with the Hydro Cannon. They're going to have to throw 2. And I think you just save your shields for the Ninetales at this point, or the Ampharos. It really doesn't matter. This is just going to be a game over. Game, set, and match. Sorry, guys. I am having a rough time here. These battles are just going super fast, and I believe there's like a full, like 3 sets or something of battles here. And honestly, after like 2 sets of battles, my commentary just declines rapidly. After commentating on all these battles, my commentary just naturally goes downhill because it's like the same battles over and over again. As you guys are seeing, guys, sorry. I'm not even going to comment on the coughing because you guys are used to it. If you're new to the channel, sorry. There is lots of coughing and hacking on this channel just because I am a chronic allergy sufferer, but as you guys are seeing, this is actually a pretty cool lead by the opponent. I haven't seen too many of these out here, the Sceptiles, but Sceptile also did get access to the Breaking Swipe, but what I was trying to say before my body just shut down on me is the Ultra League is very narrow in the meta that you're going to see. You do see a lot of things like Golisopod, lots of water types, lots of Tapu Finis, lots of flyers like Charizards, for example. And what you guys have been seeing in this video so far is that the electric types in the back are just really core breaking a lot of these lines. As you're seeing right now, they bring in a Jellicent to the Ampharos, so clearly they're super weak to this thing in the back. I'm guessing there's probably like a Tapu Fini in the back potentially. Since they had the Sceptile on the lead, it would make sense if they had double water in the back, and double electric is just out here looking completely insane. Obviously, things like Steelix would be a little bit tough. Oh my gosh, there's an Ultra League Pelipper in the back. That is probably the opponent's, like, if the opponent was going to have one thing in the back that this backline absolutely destroys, it would be an Ultra League Pelipper. And yeah, actually just going to 2-shield flex on the opponent there, and yeah. Basically what I'm saying, guys, is if you're wanting to run electric types in the Open Ultra League, there is no better time than the present to do so, because so many teams are just completely getting destroyed by these electric types in the back, and he's just picking up really good matchups, even when he's not maintaining switch advantage, which is normally how he does like to play. He normally does like to fight for switch at all costs, but honestly, in a lot of these situations, it's not really mattering because the opponent has no answer for the Heliolisk or no answer for the Ampharos. And yeah, this is a pretty nice matchup for the Alolan Ninetales. Apparently, I still cannot speak. And it looks like he's just going to commit both shields there, farm all the way down, gets rid of the Swampert. And I'm guessing his thought process there was, if he can get rid of the Swampert, they probably don't have a better answer to his electric types in the back than the Swampert. And sure enough, the opponent is staying in with a Charizard into the Heliolisk. He does get the debuff off, and that means he's going to be able to survive the Blast Burn. And the Breaking Swipe here is going to be probably just about KOing the Charizard, and no, just barely doesn't. But if they're staying into this matchup, they clearly have no answer whatsoever to the electric type. And oh my gosh, there's a Pidgeot in the back. And again, guys, do I even need to say it? These electric types are just crushing everything out here. And once again, we see a water type switching into the Alolan Ninetales. And despite Golisopod probably being one of the best... Don't worry, guys, the video's almost over. You are very quickly going to be rid of my hacking and coughing, but Golisopod, typically one of the best safe switches in the Ultra League, just gets completely crushed by the Heliolisk there, and they have a Steelix in the back, and we are finally going to see a Bulldoze land on the Steelix, and honestly, that chip damage is going to be absolutely crucial here, because otherwise, the Steelix probably would be extremely difficult to KO. And I like this play as well. Just go straight for the Brutal Swing here. And by going straight for the Brutal Swing, he basically guarantees that the opponent is not going to shield that. And honestly, it looks like the opponent might lose this battle with 2 shields because the Steelix is going to get fully charmed down here. He's saving both of his shields as well. And I think you can just probably charm all the way through the Virizion as well. Now, it is going to get a little close. I actually really like him calling both of those Breaking Swipes on the Steelix here, because now he can use his shields on the Virizion, and this is actually going to be pretty close. I think the opponent made a little bit of a mistake there by no-shielding that Weather Ball, because now I think he just double shields and charms all the way down, yeah. Either way, it looks like he would have made another weather ball, so it doesn't really matter that they no-shielded that first one, but yeah, the opponent there saving their shields for the next season, and DrLuv takes the win there in the final battle. So very nicely played battles by DrLuv. I apologize for like the second third of that, or probably like the last third to fourth of the video where I was just coughing and hacking my way through the entire thing, but either way, some very, very cool battles. And this team, despite being kind of off meta, I would say looks very, very strong for the Open Ultra League if you guys are wanting to try it. Now, obviously, Heliolisk does require quite a few XL candies, so it's not like a super easy thing to put together, but Ampharos is very accessible, and honestly, Alolan Ninetales is fairly accessible. It's been around for quite a while, so, you know, they've been in the wild, and the Shadow version has definitely been in the Rocket Blimps lately, so I think if you could build on Alolan Ninetales, that is definitely key. And I think the Ampharos as well is very, very strong. So even if you don't have the Heliolisk, I think you could pretty safely put together the Alolan Ninetales and the Ampharos core and do very, very well with the team. So that being said, once again, thank you to DrLuv. Sorry about the last part of the commentary again, guys, but thank you for watching the video either way if you made it this far. And if you are a new viewer of my channel and you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing, because the more subscribers we can get, the more Pokemon my wife will let me play.